Live? Okay. Good evening. I'm going to talk with you folks since you're here. And folks, if there is anybody watching at home, I'm Jonah Shanker, District Superintendent at Ulster BOCES, and I am assisting the Saugerties Central School District with the search for their new superintendent. This is really your time to give feedback on your hopes for the qualities of leadership for the next superintendent, direction for teaching and learning for the district, or any other kind of input you'd like for the board to consider as they begin to take a look at the candidates. We have closed the community survey, a tremendous amount of return on that survey. One of the highest yielding that I've seen in my work in partnership with Dr. Corey through several searches. So that's really promising that we've gotten that feedback. Regarding that feedback, I am working through that to synthesize and kind of pull out kind of what are the trends that are emerging from the responses. We'll take information or comments from you all tonight, and again, if anybody has anything they submit through the YouTube and the survey there, and we'll compile that, and then there'll be a third community engagement, and that's really for internal Saugerties stakeholders. So I'll be spending a day here up in Saugerties on the 30th, and there's 1 hour blocks scheduled throughout the day. I'll be meeting with central administration. I'll be meeting with union leadership across the district. I'll be meeting with PTA representatives and a number of other stakeholders. And again, informal conversation. It's not time for me to express anything that I believe in, but really just to collect information from those stakeholders about their hopes and needs for the future superintendent and direction. All three of those data points, tonight, the 30th, and the survey, will be compiled, and I'll provide that information to the board, and they can decide how they want to share that out with the community. But ultimately, that information is to help the board as they move through the various interviews to have an idea of the stakeholders' thoughts, opinions, and hopes for the next superintendent here in Saugerties. So we were going to structure this in kind of 3 sections, and that was in anticipation of having a large crowd. We have a small but mighty crowd, which is awesome, but I don't know that we need to structure it out. Really, the hope is, again, to hear about what are the qualities of the next leader that you're looking for, ideas around what teaching and learning should or could look like in Saugerties in the future, and other priorities from your perspective for the district and for the superintendent. So really, I'm going to turn it over to you all to listen and take it from there. We'll monitor this online platform as well. So the floor is yours. We're here to listen and collect that. Is there anybody that wants to kick us off?
So should I stand, or it doesn't matter?
I mean, you could keep it however you want. If you feel like standing, that's fine. But casual's good.
So I don't. This kind of job, it seems to me, I've never been a superintendent before, where you're going to please some of the people some of the time, and you're never going to please all the people all the time. But I myself, as a parent that finds himself often to be disenfranchised. You know, I got a lot of thoughts in my mind, and some people think like me, but oftentimes the decisions that are made don't reflect what I'm thinking necessarily. So I would say first and foremost, a superintendent that says, wow, there's a lot of people outside that aren't heard. What are they looking at? The skills to go after that information, because someone like me might not come forward. Not that you could tell from me, I love talking in front of people, but some people don't. And they're not going to come out, they're not going to bring that information. So someone who has the skill set and the capability to find those people, those parents, those people who are involved, or even just people who pay the taxes, to say, what do you need, what are you looking for, what's right? I could give you tons of things like, you know, integrity, smart, capable, obviously everyone's going to say those, but I'll skip those for now. And also talk about myself again as a parent who has a student, like many, who really don't like to be in school, but more or less because he doesn't learn the same way as other kids. And that's okay, that happens, but that my son ends up becoming a struggle for some of the parents in the classroom not parents, I'm sorry, teachers in the classroom. And I know that they can sometimes struggle. They love him. He's a great kid. He's funny as hell. He's going to host the Tonight Show Sunday, but he's got to pass school first. And he's having a hard time, and he really does. And I wonder if there's not other ways that we could learn from things like behavioral sciences and like direct support sort of jobs with people who take care of adults with developmental disabilities and say, hey, what are different ways to learn? What are different ways to learn from that kid how they need to learn, and present information in a way where, as an example that's not meant to be too specific, but when my son stares out the window, he's not having a seizure. He just doesn't want to be there. He's not learning in a way, but teachers get caught up in things sometimes that maybe you're trying to answer the problem but aren't really looking at the problem. So I guess fostering from teachers things that are more person-centered or child-centered when you're figuring out how to teach them and how to learn better to teach them. Those are the two things I came prepared now. I might speak again if I have a thought on something someone else says.
Great, thank you. So, and please, feel free to jump back in after, but just want to make sure I captured a voice from the outside.
They're out there and they're not talking, but everybody in this room knows that.
Right.
That's not new.
Right, so how do we tap into all voices in community? Obviously, you said integrity, capable, smart, honor students who may not fit into the traditional molds and looking for other ways to be able to reach those students, other models, the research around that, really about a child-centered, person-centered approach.
Perfect.
Okay. Sure.
Probably looking for someone who will acknowledge that they've made a mistake and work with people to correct it, and have very clear communication skills between all stakeholders, be it the public, be it teachers, be it the board themselves, so that everybody has a fair seat at the table, so to speak, and everyone has all of the same information.
So just again, kind of that way to democratize information, right? Information is shared with all stakeholders, clear communication skills, and if there are mistakes made, the ability to acknowledge those mistakes, take ownership over them. Okay. And I appreciate the patience with allowing me to restate, because I want to make sure I'm capturing your voice and not my interpretation of your voice, which sometimes...
The superintendent should have that skill too.
He does.
Other voices in the room? Yeah.
I'd like to see continuity. I grew up in Saugerties. I went to school here. I lived in the district for 20 years, and it seems like we've had a lot of superintendents come through, and I would like to see continuity. And so if someone comes in and they would like to make changes, that's not necessarily bad, but I'd like to see Saugerties be something more than like a stop on their journey as they're going through. And we're only here for a few years and then they move on. I would like to see a presence that's consistent. Yeah.
Okay. So someone who's vested here, some longevity.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, someone who really, not to say that the past superintendents haven't cared, because I'm sure they have, but to see somebody, like you said, who's vested in the community,
right,
who really has, something at stake and really wants to see it succeed and is here looking at this as long-term.
Right.
They're here for the long haul,
right,
to make this a better district.
Gotcha. And not just a stop on the
Exactly.
on the train. Okay. Thank you for that. Other voices, feedback, thoughts?
I think I'd like to just piggyback off of what, some people have already said. Someone who is approachable. So not only do we want to be able to tap into those people that are out in the community, but someone that the people that are out in the community can come in and they find the superintendent approachable and available. And not saying that you know, our past hasn't been there, but I think that that is definitely important, that they feel that, you know, when they approach this person and they have something to say, that, you know, they're there to listen. I think that that's really important. And I also think that one of the greatest qualities is somebody who's a strong collaborator, who is ready to, and I think I've said this before, who's ready to roll up their sleeves and work alongside of the people that are, you know, wheels on the pavement or tires on the pavement, what do they say that, boots on the ground? So those people that are actually, you know, yeah, where the rubber meets the road.
Where the metal meets the meat. I like that.
Okay, all right. Well, we know what I mean. So I just feel like somebody who's not so much a top-down approach, but gets in there with them and is, you know, willing to put in that hard work and work with them.
And just to touch on what Carol said, that this person is approachable, not only by the public, but employees, that they can approach that person without fear of state retribution or anything like that.
Right, okay. So approachable, available, really there to listen, and listen kind of with open heart, open ears, collaborator, working alongside, leading from among the people, kind of boots on the ground type work. Great. Hi. Hi. How are you? Very good. I'm doing well. Thank you. So we're just casual. We had it much more structured in case there was more people showing up. We're going to kind of take sections, but we're really just space and time for you all to jump in, talking about priorities of district, where teaching and learning might go, qualities of the next leader that you'd all like to see. So the floor is yours. I'm just collecting, and I'll ask some other questions if I need some clarification.
And if anybody's hungry or thirsty, in the conference room, there's coffee, drinks, water, snacks. Feel free to help yourself and come back in.
And nobody has selected our show over whatever's playing on Netflix as of right now. Or at least they haven't submitted.
So I've heard people talk about collaboration and approachable and a lot of things that I think needs to extend past the superintendent. And what I mean by that is the superintendent is a role. It's one role. So one of the qualities I think that the superintendent needs to have, I would want somebody who knows how to build a team and retain a team. Because we could find the greatest superintendent on paper and, you know, skill set wise, but if people don't want to come work for that person, it's not going to work, right? So we need somebody who, and I think all those words used, collaborative and approachable and all that, go into that. But somebody who understands that he or she is the superintendent, but that layer of leadership that sits under him is as important, and people need to want to fill those roles and stay in those roles. Because just as much of a hindrance as the superintendent, I like the way you put it, a stop on the train, if that next layer of leadership is continually churning, we could have the best superintendent there is, and nothing's going to be touched.
Sure. So I'm hearing, and just make sure, really somebody who, again, superintendent is a single role, critical in building a leadership team and a culture of collaboration, of approachableness, of community connections, we can go down the list of the things that were articulated, but that becomes the pervasive way of Saugerties because of a particular approach.
Because the pendulum has shifted, right? It used to be, when I interviewed somebody, right, they had 90% of the responsibility to tell me why I should hire them. That's probably now 65, 35, right? Where I need to tell them why they want to come work for me and why they want to come work for the district and why this is the right place for them. So I think somebody who can sit and listen to that, and then be able to convince people that, no, this is the place you want to come work, is just as important as, well, it's as important as all those other things, because it's all going to feed into the same thing.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Say what I said, 4 or 5 years ago. Someone who has a experience working with a diverse population. Someone who has experience working with a population with a significant amount of poverty. Someone with the leadership skills to, someone with leadership on those issues who can make those things matter from the top down.
So I'm hearing, you know, the experience, it's critical to have the experience in working with diverse populations, understanding how and what it entails to work with students of poverty, the leadership skills to not only prioritize these things, but make them matter.
Yes, throughout the administration, yes.
I believe that's just the test.
Yep.
Okay. Other thoughts?
Or somebody who's had at least 10 years of teaching experience in the classroom?
I'm struggling with saying that. Teaching is very important, I think. You can get a businessman to come in and do this job, but someone that knows what it's like to teach and knows what they're asking teachers to do and know how that might be perceived is 100% on the list. It's got to be.
We put the kids first.
So years of experience as a teacher to understand what we're asking teachers to do, as we know, right? That's where the work is between students and teachers.
And she said 10 years. I think the number is valuable because if I'm a teacher for 1 year and then I become the superintendent, I know what it was like to teach in that year. But if you've taught for 10 years, you've seen all kinds of changes. You've proven that you have some flexibility, which is another good word that can be used in a lot of different ways. You know, so if you've taught over a decade, you know, or as many years as like Mr. Hollins Opus, who saw the 60s through the 90s, you know, you kind of know what things look like to change over time and, you know, how kids evolve and parents evolve and the needs change. You know, so 1 or 2 years would be okay, but a number of years would be good.
And,
Mainly for teachers, because as a teacher, there are a lot of nuances that in a classroom, somebody who's in administration who hasn't been a teacher necessarily wouldn't understand. So you're not necessarily having the experience in the administration end is a high priority, but, I mean, it's a priority, but not as high as being a teacher,
Right.
for sure.
Right. Through the eyes of a teacher. Okay. And centering students, we pointed out, right? Putting students first, centering what's good for students. Anything else that you want to share?
Did we mention there's cookies?
Okay, I'm going to say it now. I was thinking about putting Mr. Ball on the spot. I never had him as a teacher, but I had him in study hall a few times, and he was one of the funniest teachers I ever had. There's got to be a fun element.
Humor.
Is it weird to say, I hope everybody agrees with me in here, it might not be the most important thing, but back to my son, he's going to appreciate a teacher that's humorous. funny, appreciates that sort of thing, than someone who's just a stickler all the time,
You
you
could
know.
create a culture,
Yeah, exactly, you know.
it's like a family.
It's back to the leadership team, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Because superintendent may not have a sense of humor, but if he can cultivate a leadership team,
That could,
another right,
that
right?
might.
So, creating family, I heard, it's back to culture, fostering that, and fun is okay.
I like that. Fun is okay.
I think I put a priority also on someone who's bringing an experience from outside of this community.
Um, Educational experience, personal experience, just to know what's out there.
I mean, educational experience could absolutely be here, but yes, has experienced some of, has gained some experience beyond these borders. More of a, like a, sort of
Bringing in a different
Global.
perspective,
yes, yeah. More
and
of a-
what
or
people are
global.
necessarily comfortable with here,
Mhm.
or accustomed to, better word.
So Keenan, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Counter question.
Sure.
Are you saying, because I think it's important, are you saying experience as a superintendent otherwhere, or just hasn't had every role that they've ever had, he or she has had in school? So if they've worked in other districts, obviously being a superintendent, obviously being a superintendent.
Yeah, no, I would say it doesn't have to be where they call home, but has been outside
Have
of
been
it.
outside of it.
Yes, has worked outside of, maybe has more of a global perspective. Yes,
Okay.
some work experience.
Some work experience outside of the sort of.
But not necessarily superintendency, so it could have been
Not necessarily as a
some
role.
okay. So they're bringing some outside perspective in.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else? I've been a teacher, so I'm very comfortable with long, uncomfortable silence.
I'm eating a cookie, so I'm fine.
No, but really, the time is yours, so I'm where you go.
I was gonna say, I've been married for a long time, me too. Just kidding.
Party though.
Are questions permitted?
We're really just here to collect, but if there's, you know,
I might be out of the loop, but I'm wondering if anyone has actually showed interest and you have a pool of people that you're looking
yeah,
to.
okay, yeah, I'm happy to answer that. The application process is complex, lot of parts to it. We did have a fairly good return. There are currently 10 applicants who have completed the whole process, which is great. And so where we're at now is working through kind of compiling all of those, all of the materials. I mean, they're held in a digital platform, and we'll go through and do background checks, so to speak. They include social media checks. They include checks with the department, right? We want to be sure out of those 10 to make sure that we're bringing to the board a list of board will get everything and has access to everybody, but my job is to make sure that there's awareness of the stories, if there are. I mean, everybody does, but somebody might have left the district, and there's a perspective on why that happened in final interviews.
Where are we on that timeline?
I don't have my computer right in front of me to give you the exact timeline. May 30th is the stakeholder meeting, where I'll meet with the in-house, kind of, again, the community members from inside the walls of the Saugerties School District, including PTA, unions, et cetera. Kind of same type of format, informally, cookies, coffee, all that stuff. Same time,